Hi, I'm Wayward, and this is Grey Goo. Looking today at a 1 versus 1 between Friz as our blue Shroud player at the top right of World Tree, and at the bottom left is Elfire as our blue Goo. Again, I don't know if it's Elfire or Elfire, but hopefully if I say it fast enough, it won't be that big of a deal. Friz getting some aggressive scouting out, trying to make sure that Elfire can't capitalize too much on... I actually did get it. Capitalize too much on the spigots here. For those not familiar with Grey Goo, the resources shoot up this steam, and the goo mother actually consumes that spigot, which will regenerate after a little bit. See, there it goes popping up again. And there it's being grabbed again. Too fast for that mimic to be able to do anything with. So very nice control from our goo player. And let's take a look real quick at what Friz is up to. There's a drover in Friz's base keeping tabs on things. Right now, actually let's bring up the structures tab. We have 2 extractors into 4 advents. Pretty standard opener for the Shroud against Goo. Against other factions, the Shroud like to go with a little more greedy with a couple extra extractors, but you can't afford that against the Goo. A 5th Advent now being added. I think much more, and our Shroud player is going to need an additional extractor. Elfire now kind of taking over the bottom of the map as opposed to his corner. Makes sense. Looks like we produced a Protean and got a couple of Striders out for an attack force. 3 mothers now, 1 being moved down to the bottom of the map. This is actually a good plan. And why is that a good plan, Wayward? Tell them. Because a lot of players don't focus too much on this part of the map. Looks like Friz does expect this since he was heading right down that way. Getting a couple pot shots on that mother. This force is not going to be able to do too much to defend the mama. Looks like Elfire is trying to decide whether he's going to... There we go. Hiding in that forest. Our injured Strider pulling back, starting to heal up. We are now at 4 mothers for Elfire, 1 coming up to help out with this, and a couple of Proteans going to be on the way in a second. Looking at those pips in the top corner, we see that we have the potential for additional guys pretty soon. There is a Protean right there, being used actually to attack before converting into Striders. This mother probably going to die, unfortunately, along with these forces. There's too many clashers here from our Shroud player. The mother does go down. Those clashers actually pretty hurt, though, and already Elfire up to 4. Again, pulling back, trying to save the rest of his mamas from this assault. Leading our Shroud player on a bit of a wild goose chase against trying to kill these Striders. Almost doesn't matter at this point whether or not they die. Later in the game, Elfire could lose himself the game from that. But anyway, let's take a quick look at what our Shroud player's up to. It looks like a 3rd extractor has been produced. We're up to 6 advents. No tech at the moment. Elfire now expanding rapidly to 6 mothers. He's kind of out of the danger zone right now. He could have had 7, but he's got a pretty good production base to work off of at this point. Friz moving all over the place, seeing if he can find where the Goo player has gone to. He's going to pretty quickly suss out that his opponent is not in the expected places and rule out everything except for where Elfire is actually hiding. Huge round of Proteans coming out. A lot of them immediately are converted to units. Still a massive unit advantage for our Shroud player. who is now starting to produce Howlers. Let's take a quick look at our upgrades. We actually did have someone on upgrades. I want to see this happen in real time. Let's see. Oh, he doesn't even scout the Mama in the corner. That is very lucky for Elfire, because that would have killed this Mama really easily. Channeled build up for our Shroud player. That's the upgrade that lets the Howlers do additional splash damage. Often see that. And Symbiotic Pool. So it looks like Elfire going for Crescents. Allowing the Crescent's splash damage to heal allied goo. A little bit of harass going on here for Elfire, taking the focus away from Friz. Friz now blunting his assaults to go deal with this harass of his extractor. Speaking of which, still only on 3 extractors. And more combat going on down here. Bad position for Elfire to attack into. The Clasher DPS is going to be a little much for those Striders to deal with. It looks like Elfire is saving up on a couple of Mamas for large Proteans. Or he's going to just get like 8 Mamas right now. We'll have to see. I think he's saving up, though. With as much as he's got, he's about to hit 3 pips there. Strider's still really helping to steal Friz's focus. And they may actually get away from this. Get away with what they're doing. Definitely a major army advantage still for our Shroud player, who is now up to 4 extractors. See, if Friz was really paying attention to this, he would use these guys to do a pincher move, and he is paying attention. Good for him. Let's see, he might still not. No, he's gonna get it. Oh my gosh. Still 3 of the 4 Striders alive. That's hilarious. But yeah, we've got a bunch of large Proteans now. 4, to be precise. And let's see. Elfire does see this coming. A Bastion, actually, as well as a couple of those Crescents. The Bastion scaring off this Shroud army. No. Elfire, pull your Striders. There we go. Also, a bunch of Destructors coming out, like a bunch, could all be lost. This single Howler, if Elfire doesn't pay enough attention. Oh, what is going on? There we go. Still, these Destructors are really low, and there's no upgrade for them yet. They're really best with their upgrade. So a bit of a painful loss of Destructors there. He's already lost 2 of them, now 3. That really didn't need to happen. Friz trying for a backdoor assault, but Elfire is scouting that as well. We do have the Destructors, and then there's the Bastion in to help save the day, as well as a Mama who is probably going to actually live. Yep. Took a little bit of damage, but nice little dance there with the Howlers, just to get a little more DPS on those Striders. A bunch more Striders are going to go down. And combat in the top of the map, as well as this Extractor getting dangerously close to being taken out. This is not what Elfire wants to attack into, but of course he's going to, and loses a bunch of units. Another Destructor goes down, and those are cost inefficient to replace. It's really hard to get. Oh, and we have Fugues out for Friz. That's always cool to see. So the Fugue tags enemy units, and if they die, it'll produce a temporary unit. There you go. There's the coda that spawns from the death of the... There's another one. Really like seeing that. That's a fun unit for the Shroud. Crucible right there. More combat up here that I was not paying enough attention to. This Shroud army still alive, actually. Going to be able to come down and try to harass this Mother Goo. Weird to me, kind of, that Elfire is not trying to expand his production base. this could be a really bad situation for Elfire to run into. Already lost one of his Proteans. The Coda spawns there. Could lose a Mother to this assault. Going whole hog to try to save this. Actually, really bad positioning from Friz. Loses Friz the army. This Mother is very low on health, but will actually survive. However, I did miss one being killed over here. That's a bit of a blow to Elfire. And potentially another one going to be lost to this little force here. Bad engagement for Elfire again. These Crescents will be able to put the hurt on the Shroud forces. And the Bastion looks like it will get away. Mother being saved by Elfire, and that army is taken out. But Elfire has to now rebuild one of those Mothers, which is not ideal. He should be producing more instead of losing them and replacing them. Meanwhile, our Shroud player is catching up in the Extractor game. Let's take a look. There's another one. So they've got 5 now. Another big fight coming down. A Mama gets mixed up in the middle of it. Not what you want, but it looks like it's going to work out for Elfire. I actually really like seeing Elfire do this. A lot of Goo players don't really use the Mother very much offensively, and Elfire just recognizes when it needs to happen and it instinctually uses it the way it needs to be used. So I think that's really cool to see. Meanwhile, trying to get these... Oh no, the Crescents are probably going to die. Let's see if the Bastion... Oh, the Bastion comes in at the last minute, manages to save one, the other gets taken out. We have a massive Strider Ball. Not a massive Strider Ball. Decent-sized Strider Ball. Let's see, this could take out this Extractor, and that's exactly the move that Elfire needs to be taking right now, is to try to reduce some of this economy expansion going on from Friz. Probably in a bad spot here, though. Howler is going to be able to do some nasty AoE. This Crescent caught out in the open. Let's see if it makes it up on the hill before it dies. It does not, unfortunately. Not entirely sure if the Bastion Crescent, or rather Bastion Strider, is going to be able to take this out. But at the meantime, more Striders up here trying to harass, again, curbing a bit of Friz's attention, and mine as well, but I'm just talking, and Friz actually had to do this. So, well played from Elfire. This is another kind of critical mistake that Goo players make, is they build a decent-sized army and then lose the whole thing. And Elfire not doing that right now. Managing to keep enough forces together. We've got a bunch of Striders and some more Crescents coming out. Nice to see. And this should be able to deal with this kind of straggling Shroud force. Friz kind of letting his army get away from him a little bit. Elfire does manage to get another Mother out, and killing that Extractor is a good move, I think. Let's take a look at text. Still no more upgrades. Additionally, another attack. I love these multi-pronged attacks. Bastion a little out of position, letting these Striders take more damage than they need to. But now it's doing a little better. Striders are really low on health, but if they manage to kind of get away, then they can heal up and be back in fighting trim in no time. Looks like I might have missed a bit going on here. Aversion field being placed at this spigot to force the Mothers off of it. But I think this army is going to be taken out. We've got some Crescents over here, actually a lot of them, and Striders in the Bastion. And this army is mostly single target damage. Meanwhile, up at the north, Elfire's force gets taken out. Friz is going to lose an army here. Elfire going hard into Striders, which is fine, unless Friz starts either teching into something else or really commits to Howlers. I'm actually not super thrilled with Friz's army composition. I feel like the Fugue is not a bad idea, but this particular composition from our Goo player, it really kind of begs the Klaxon. You use the Howlers to back up the Klaxons, kind of a sword and shield thing. Right now it's just sword and sword, kind of, with the Fugue doing decent DPS and the Howlers doing DPS, and the Clasher is the only unit that's kind of able to soak up damage. I like this use of aversion fields as kind of like attack points. This army's going to go down pretty fast, but taking out a lot of Striders in the meantime. So I really feel like, and it looks like Elfire lost another mother. That's not terrible, but he needs to be adding them, which is what I was just going to say. He's in a fine position right now, but the later the match goes on, the more these Striders are going to become a liability. This is a big, nasty force, but a couple of really bad Howler hits, and it's gone. I really feel like he needs to be able to try to invest a little more into Tier 3. Let's see if he's Q moving. Nope, he was attack moving. So Friz is going to get a bit of an indication, a bit of a warning. So, yeah, we'll have to see here. The Bastion is a little bit out of position, which is letting these Striders take a lot more damage than they need to from the Howlers. Massive losses. The Bastion finally manages to push its way through the Striders and is now able to soak up that DPS. Really tough spot for our Shroud player to be in right now. He's not got a lot of army, and the Crescent backline is really making some problems for Friz. It looks like there might be just enough Howlers out right now to clean this up, and this is what I was talking about. Destructors with the upgrade, the bouncing upgrade, would have been a lot better than the Striders were in that situation. Friz now preparing for a counter push, while Elfire seems to have lost track of these Striders. That's definitely going to favor the Shroud player. Interesting. I don't know what to think about this. I've never seen a player that knows what they're doing use siphons, so we'll have to see if this helps or not. I feel like with Destructors, the siphon's not a bad choice to help soak up some of that incidental AoE from the Howlers, but the Striders are not going to be a great combo with the siphons. We do have Destructors. It remains to be seen whether or not we're going to get. We do have the Contagious Q upgrade for the bouncing shots from the Destructors, so that's the tech switch we were looking for from Elfire, and we'll have to see what ends up happening with Friz and what he ends up producing. Still just the one Crucible. Actually, what Friz really needs to do right now is get some more Extractors. He's doing okay right now with what he's got, but more Extractors would help him be able to build up his, upgrade some of these advents and get some more tech units out. Really, what he's been building, the Fugues have not been working. He's continuing to produce them, unfortunately. But yeah, it'd be really nice to see him try something else. Air, probably, might not be a bad thing for him to try to tech into. However, right now I'm talking about tech in the middle of a fight. One of those siphons goes down. Actually, both of them seem to be down now, so that healing is gone, and this army is pretty small. The Crescents getting some lucky hits there and killing a decent portion of that army. Still a scary force, but a lot smaller than it was. Friz coming in for another sneaky attack on the back, and this mother, I think, is going to be okay. Yeah, it's going to be fine, but it's forced out of position. Looks like we might have actually lost one and had to rebuild. Meanwhile, more fighting going on up here. Those crescents badly out of position. One going down to Howlers. This army is going to be eaten up, I think, by the AoE damage over time. And that's all she wrote for this army. Contagious Goo is upgraded. And let's see what our Shroud player is getting. Soothing Pulse. The Aversion Field heals allied units with every pulse. And Protected Investment. Soothing Pulse was cancelled? Looks like it might have been cancelled. But Protected Investment is being researched. So that makes extractors get a healing aura around themselves, which will help for this harassment. So I think that's an appropriate response. It's an appropriate tech to this match. Elfire seems like he's maybe getting a little desperate, or maybe he's just trying to keep his opponent off guard. Teching back into Strider seems not like the best move to me, personally. Because of all these Howlers. Let's take a look at the units tab real quick. Yeah, it's basically 1-to-1 Clashers to Howlers with a couple of Fugues mixed in. I'm still not really liking the Fugues, especially with the Contagious Goo upgrade. And Elfire really could use like 1 or 2 more mothers. He's in a great position right now. It's hard to attack into this without being seen, but oh my god. Got a bunch more extractors now, it looks like. 1, 2... It says 6, but I think it's going to be more like 9 in a second. So that is a really good long-term investment from Friz that I think will start paying off pretty quick. Friz actually dodging this army. It looks like he's going to go straight for infrastructure with this fairly impressive-sized force and another smaller force up here as well. Both players trying to get the upper hand on their opponent. I was going to say I hadn't seen any Radiants, but we've got a couple now. This is going to be really bad. There's a big enough army here that it's going to just eat through these mothers. Let's see. Elfire trying to manage 3 armies right now. 1 attacking up here, 1 attacking over here. And that mother does not make it. So back down to 6 for Elfire, which is bad. He could actually come down to 4 before too much longer if he doesn't move. Move it or lose it, man. He's just using his army to try to stop this. I really feel like there's more than 6 extractors. 1, 2, 3. I guess he lost. So he is only at 6. But yeah, Elfire really, I feel like whoever gets the better hand of the economy right now is gonna win long term. Those Howlers are really doing a number on those Striders down here. Up here we have a decent army that is barely hanging on thanks to this Bastion. Once the Bastion goes down, this offensive is going to fall apart immediately, and there it goes. Destructors trying their darndest, but not really making it. That poor little Radiant becomes a coda. Elfire now at a distinct army disadvantage. Does have a couple of large Proteans that are going to have to be spent really well in order to make this work. We are now back up to 7 mothers, but he's really in a precarious place right now. A good exchange for Elfire gets him back in the game. A bad exchange for Elfire right now basically loses him the game. And you have the Shroud BM of mass aversion fields everywhere. Friz loves to do this. Another mother going down. This is really not what Elfire needs right now, and these mamas are going to be hunted down pretty quickly. Elfire not being able to return the favor. This extractor is going to get away. Another mother going down for Elfire, down to 5 in a second. That is really bad for our goo player. Really looking like Friz is going to get the upper hand here, but these Destructors with their bouncing and the Crescents with their AoE might just be enough to make this work out for Elfire. Oh no, oh, this entire Stalker army or Strider army getting murdered in the face by Howlers. Cleaning up the aversion fields is important, but right now, okay, we're back up to 7, but this is not the best place for Elfire to be in. Aversion fields everywhere, everywhere. And look at that supply disparity, 40 to 118. This is a powerful army, but it's very small, and it looks like he's missed that this army is down here. Actually, Friz walks his army into the mother. He doesn't have to lose this. Let's see, he might just be able to get that mother out, but we have another attack force down here. Oh no, all these Proteans are going to be exploded by the Howlers. It didn't even get to transform into anything. Finally with 8 mothers, but no army to show for it. Friz sees that he has an opening and is just mass producing tier 1 units. He's got a couple of codas still, or fugues still. It's a little late in the game to try to run these mothers away, with the supply disparity. Not much that our goo player can do. These masses, these balls of Striders don't trade well enough with the Howlers. An Extractor's never going to die to this. I was really hoping to see Elfire win, but I think Friz is gonna take this. This mother is useless if it can't get any of the gas. We have a decent army here, but that's just one against like four armies. In theory, Elfire could, Friz could win this, but he might have to lose a mother to do so. And he doesn't have the attention to spare on the mother. This one going down, this army just sitting there. It's painful to see. Down from 8 to 6, and Elfire GG's out. Crazy match. Really fun to see. I was hoping for a goo win. I do feel like the goo are really fighting an uphill battle. It seems like a lot of different points in the match, you're a razor's edge of defeat. Let me try to say that again. At many points throughout the match, you are sitting on the razor's edge of defeat. Even when you're at your strongest, you have so little economy and infrastructure to back it up, and it's, you know, anything gets behind your lines and starts killing mothers, you're just really out of the game. But I love seeing the way Elfire thinks about the goo. I feel like the way he approaches it makes sense given the tools that he's working with. I think that's really, really cool to see. And I'm going to keep bothering Elfire for replays, and we'll get some more fun goo matches, hopefully, in the near future. I'd love to see some goo versus human. Goo versus Shroud is great. You've got the two crazy alien races fighting each other. But yeah, Friz is a formidable opponent. He is ruthless, and he really took the fight to his opponent. And the aversion fields, I think it's hilarious. He puts them everywhere. He's done this. I have a replay where he fights X set, and he does basically the same thing. He just starts spamming aversion fields everywhere. But anyway, I'm Wayward, and this has been Grey Goo. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and who knows, maybe next time I'll try a Dawn of War 2 cast. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.